Hi everyone and welcome back. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video we are going to talk about JavaScript tooling. So let's say I'm a JavaScript developer and I wanted to build an application. So here let's say I'm a JavaScript developer in 2024. Okay, and what all the tools which you are facing day to day and what all tools you must be aware of, right? So we are just going, because this is a miscellaneous video which talks primarily about the tools and the technologies which you must be familiar. We are primarily talking about JavaScript toolings. I mean, the frameworks are totally different thing. Tooling, like what all tools are available which can simplify your task of development. First of all, we will talk about Chrome Dev Tools. I mean, this is like a big monster tool. It's not just a simple, you just go to the Chrome and start playing things, right? You can do anything using Chrome Dev Tools, like checking the performance. You can see all these different types, and lots of dev tools, developer tools are also available here. Like you can inspect everything about the whole application, the caching, cookies, local storage, session storage, the memory snapshot. If your application is taking way too much, you can check the performance. The network calls, you can do the debugging. You can check any console errors and you can inspect any element, right? And you can just check the stylings associated to that element. You can check responsiveness and all. So that we have already discussed, like how the Chrome dev tools are really powerful. Similarly, there is a Mozilla. If you are using Mozilla Firefox also provides these developer tools, so you can inspect lots of things about the network request, the applications, cookies, local storage, and all those things which can help you in the debugging things. Okay, so second tool is a page speed. I mean, I already discussed about this page speed. Actually a tool which can help you to understand the performance of your application. So let's say I am passing my another website, devs.tksharma.com. so this is like a subdomain, so I can get the page speed inside, like okay, how it is performing on the desktop, how it is performing on the mobile screen. Okay, like what is the time duration in which the browser is receiving the first byte, when the first paint is happening on the browser. All those performance metrics are happening here, so we can analyze that. Now another thing is the Firefox Developer Edition that we already talked about. That's a dev tool. I mean, if you are using Firefox, lots of people just use the Firefox, then you can use all those tools. The other tools are like this. These are tools, or you can say the libraries, or you can say plugins which we are adding. ESLint Prettier. So ESLint is really important, and this is required for, in today's world, ESLint is everywhere, because earlier there used to be TSLint. Now the TSLint merged with the ESLint. So we will get to know, okay, how to fix that particular problem using ESLint. So you can get started with ESLint, ESLint RC you can create, and you can just add all the required plugins based on the code you are writing. You might be writing React, Next.js, or Next.js React, or Vue.js. You can install your plugins, all the required dependencies, and you can create ESLint RC or ESLint.json files based on and you can on and off the ESLint rules, because ESLint rules are the set of rules which are making your application future proof, or you can say there is no any errors. There are some standard defined, like which is there inside ESLint recommended. So this is like a, you can say there is a ESLint recommended. It's npm which defined all the rules of ESLint. So here you can see these are the specific rules. Async, callback, return. So if you are not, whenever you are doing async, then its callback should return something, right? Array.from. So these are some rules. If you are violating any of them, like getter, return, for, direction, constructor, super. So if you are writing a super, like rule details, these are the rule details and you must follow this, and this is how you can disable this also. ESLint constructor super, you can just set an info or warn that will suppress that error coming from that ESLint. So if you can see, class A extends B, right? Now you are extending B, but you're not calling the parent class constructor, right? So what you need to do, you need to call the parent class constructor like this: class B extend C. Then you have to, inside a constructor, use the super keyword to call the parent class constructor. So based on that, all these rules has been defined. You can create eslint.rc.js, eslint.rc.json, eslint.rc file, .eslint.rc.yml. All these are configuration file format which you can have in your code. So ESLint is really big topic. Just like you require all the required plugins, and then you just use the rules you needed. Okay, so we have this ESLint prettier, and earlier, like in JavaScript tooling, Babel was very much popular, and still it is popular. Babel is actually a tool which is available for the transpilation. So currently, because currently the browser supports still, I think, ES5 plus 1 ES6, right? So they don't support all the latest features coming out from the JavaScript community. Let's say they did some changes in the async APIs, async await, in the ES8 or ES9. Those features are not yet supported by browsers. So how we can write an application and use those features? We can use the Babel. Babel will transfile your high-level TypeScript, JavaScript code written in ES7 or ES8 or ES9 into the format which your browser can understand, like ES6 or ES7, ES5. So here, this document and setup, you can just create a simply, if I want to play with this in the browser, Babel CLI. These are like, okay, if you want to understand the toolings, lots of things are here. Like these are the build system which JavaScript provides. Okay, I mean, you might have heard about Browserify, Grunt and Gulp back in those days. Like if you want to play with this Babel in JavaScript, you can do something like this. Now here, I'm using the arrow function. I mean, still there are some browsers which doesn't support arrow functions in JavaScript, but I'm able to write it because I'm using this Babel. So Babel is a library that will take care of transpiling this, and you can just create a Babel RC file, babel.json, define the presets. Okay, this is my source environment, source JavaScript version, and this is the target. Or you write any type of code, just define the preset env. I think this is a universal that should be able to do everything for you. You don't need to specify source and target. Okay, configuring Babel, and you can learn ES15, like what all the features are there, because Babel is nothing but transpiling your upper versions to the lower versions which browser can understand. I mean, it does lots of things. It is also being used by transpiling the React JSX code into JavaScript. So it depends what you are doing. So here, let's say framework. Okay, we can skip this. So the Babel is actually a transpiler which is doing all those things. Then if it comes to, then we have all these bundlers. So in JavaScript there are two type of tools, the module bundlers, right? If you talk about module bundler, so Webpack is something which is industry tested, and it was being used with React since a long time. So what Webpack does is Webpack actually creates the bundle, output bundle for your code. So you might be using like 100 different files and you wanted to bundle them together with all the required dependency from the node modules. You will just write a Webpack config and you do npm run Webpack build. It will look for your entry file like source index.js, and it will just generate the output in the bundle.js. That's a minimal introduction. So there are different bundlers. It also supports a hot module reloading. So whenever you change something, it automatically push that change on the browser, and the browser will reload and show you the output. So it can bundle anything, your images, your font files, your CSS, your JavaScript, your TypeScript, or your images or SAS file, LESS file, and it will give you these respective files: .css, .js, bundle.js, bundle.min.css. So you don't need to load 100 files while rendering the application from the browser, right? So Webpack is a bundler. Similarly, there is a modern tool, Vite. Vite is actually next generation front-end tooling, and Vite is being used, I think, with every other framework like React, Angular, Vue.js. And I know how it really works, like I have used it in my projects. This is supported by all the projects, like if you write a React preset, Svelte.js, Svelte TypeScript, or React TypeScript, vanilla Java, React, Vue.js, Vue.ts, or vanilla JavaScript. You can use Vite. So it's like a replacement, or you can just say an option with the Webpack. If you don't want to use Webpack, then you can do it like this. You can just create a Vite, and then I think it is going to create a Vite config. And then in your package JSON, you can just do Vite build and Vite preview. Okay, so Vite build actually starts the server, and you serve the files based on the configuration. So there is a Vite config that we create. In the Vite config, we just specify, okay, do you need any additional plugins? All those configurations we put inside a Vite config. So Vite config is something which can be used by any framework. Like currently you can use Vite with a Svelte.js or React.js. And I think all the other framework like Svelte, React, Angular and all. So Vite is actually a next tool for us. And you can see here, what are the other toolings? There are some framework also, but we are mostly focusing on the tooling. So there is a Vite, then there is a Webpack. Webpack actually provides a hot module reloading, same as Vite. Then there are Redux dev tool, Chrome dev tool. So Redux dev tool, right? Vue.js dev tool. So these are like nothing but somebody build those applications so that whenever you install these plugins, they become a tab in the Chrome developer console like this. And you can inspect the Redux state. Similarly, you can inspect the Vue.js state. Here you can see all the actions and all the reducer state. What is the state, what is the props? So that is Vue.js developer tool. Similarly, React developer tool, Chrome developer tool, React Redux developer tools, they become just an option. Here you can see Redux developer tool. I can see that. Similarly, if your application is using Vue.js, then it will also show the Vue.js developer tool there. So here you can see all these different tools. I mean, these are mostly framework. Like Cypress is a tool which is doing for automation. So Playwright, Cypress. Jest is actually a tool which is doing your testing. And then we have Next.js, Express, React Redux tool, Nest.js, Postgres, Vue.js, Postman. Postman is a tool. So there are tools and there are frameworks. So toolings like Postman, Insomnia, these all are tools because they are helping you to test and test things. So there is Insomnia and Postman that is being used to test your application. So here you can see this is Insomnia tool, like same as the REST client. I can also talk about Postman. You can install the Postman app. So Postman is actually a desktop application, Electron application you can install, and that is also gives you a way to test your APIs, right? Here I will try to show you a couple of things like these are like Postman collections you can do, and this is how you can install the Postman and start exploring things. So either you can, so this is the Postman cloud. You can share the Postman APIs with your whole team also. So you just need a collection and you can share the collections with your team. So Insomnia, Postman, and there are multiple REST clients which you can use for your application development. So if you talk about toolings, Postman, Insomnia is also a tool. I mean, that's a developer tool, right? Postman, REST client. And sometimes while dealing with the APIs, so you don't need to build, sometimes you just have setup but you don't have an API, right? So JSON API and PM, I think that is the module that helps you to build the APIs from the JSON object. So JSON server is there, JSON API is there. I think I can use JSON server. This is really a nice tool for front-end developers they wants to just create an API. So this is my JSON. I will just install the JSON server, and then JSON server minus watch db.json. It will create a post API, comments API, and the profile API, and it will give it to you. That's the beauty. So you can actually use the mock. So there is a fake server, I think there is a fake server npm, or you can just use this JSON or simple fake server. So they are just taking JSON as a input. You can just define a fake routes and can create a simple HTTP service which you can use for front end. Okay, so now let's take a look on to other things. Here you can see Postman is there. We can just talk about Swagger. We already added a Wit. Wit is actually tooling. So these are all our tools. Swagger UI. So because most of the time we actually use Swagger to check our API documentation. So Swagger is nothing but a way in which we can expose the REST interface for the developer, so they will know, okay, this is the API endpoint, this is the method, and this is the request object, this is the response object. And that is all possible because there is a Swagger module which you can use for your API development, so that you can actually expose your API spec. So let's say I'm a backend developer and I have a front-end developer. So front-end developer wants to know what are the APIs which are available. So I can just give him this Swagger spec URL, and then they can start looking into Swagger, can look into those APIs and can understand, like, okay, what are the APIs available, and what are the methods, what are the API endpoints, and how I should integrate with the backend APIs developed by a backend developer. So that is Swagger. Now we can also talk about package managers, because that is also a library, or you can say tooling. Package manager. So we have package manager like npm, yarn, or pnpm. These are like different package managers you can use to develop your application. By default we do is npm init, but you can also do pnpm init, pnpm add package name, npm install package name, yarn add package name, right? So these are like package managers which are simple. And how we do it, like whenever I'm building an application from scratch, I can just simply do is pnpm init. It will create a package.json or npm init, and then I can just do is pnpm add package name, right? So these are different ways of doing it. Now after packaging, we already have covered ESLint and Prettier. I mean, there are framework. If you want to build a backend, then Express, Nest.js, Koa, Happy.js. And for front end, you can just use a React, Svelte.js, Angular. I mean, if you want to build SSR, not like client-side rendered, then you can use Next.js, All these frameworks are available for server-side rendering. And then for testing, we use Jest. I mean, if you are building any kind of application, front end and back end, you can rely on Jest. Jest is a testing library that can help you to write test cases and do the assertions and all. Okay, so there is a Jest, and Cypress is actually for automation testing. Playwright, I think that is the Playwright. So you can use Cypress and Playwright for the end-to-end automation testing of your application, where you are inspecting the node and checking all the things are happening or not. So that is Cypress and Playwright. I mean, you can use any of these tools. That is for end-to-end testing. For unit testing and integration testing, you can use Jest. For the framework, you can choose one of them. For the API development, you can choose one of them with the TypeScript. And these are the package managers. You can also use a monorepo if you want to use, like, let's say, because monorepo is also tooling. You can use a monorepo like NX monorepo or Larna. I think Larna is now also part of NX. So in monorepo, you are going to have all your front end and back end, all these things inside of one repository. So that is a monorepo. And after that, you can just write SSR application or CSR application. So these are pretty much all the toolings and libraries. Inside DevTools, you can just talk about Redux DevTools, Vue.js DevTools, and React DevTools. They will help you to inspect and debug things while you are writing a client side projects. And if you are doing, I mean, there is a framework for everything. If you are doing you can say Chef and Puppeteer is actually for so these are, you can say, the toolings available for the front end developers. And the important tooling is like the Webpack bundlers, like bundlers, Webpack, Wit. They are the things which we are going to use. And then there are module bundlers, module loaders, like transpilers like Babel, Prettier or ESLint for checking the formatting of the code. Chrome Developer Console or Firefox Dev Tools are really useful tools when you are doing a client-side web development. And then these are the framework for testing. You can rely on Jest independently, or React testing library with Jest, or Angular testing library with Jest. For end-to-end, Cypress is still very popular. If you are doing everything set up inside a single repository, which is a monorepo, you can use NX, Lana, Bit. There are a lot of platforms available to build the monorepos. Okay, then you can use if you are using different framework, they also provides the dev tools like Vue.js dev tool, React dev tool, Chrome dev tool, React Redux dev tools to inspect the Redux state, or Vuex dev tool to inspect the Vue.js Vuex state management tooling. Okay, so that's all about the JavaScript tooling, and these are the tools which are popular in the current world. Forget about if any other tools you know which is now legacy.